welcome to the video. I have had to re-record the start of the video because I sound really strained and awkward. I'm a little bit out of practice, so I hope you'll bear with me for the first part of this video. Don't worry, it gets better probably after about 2 minutes. Trust me. For this video, I'm just going to ramble a bit, but I have written down some topics that I did want to cover. Currently, I'm not very well. I don't know why, but we visited friends in London, and as soon as I came back, I felt awful. So I wanted to record this voiceover a few days ago. I mean, realistically, I shouldn't be recording it now still. I'm just going to take a sip of water. Yeah, realistically, I should leave it a few more days, but here we are anyway, because I felt like I wanted to sit down and record. It's raining outside, so if you can hear a weird sound, it's probably that. It's really hammering it down. And it's been doing so for the past, well, it's 2:30 now. It's been doing it since about 7 in the morning. And it's set to continue until 6. So we were meant to go to either the Art Museum or the Ashmolean Museum today, but we have decided in favour of staying inside in the warm. The footage you're seeing now is literally just me working. It does go on for a bit, so I will sort of cap it off around now. The real reason I'm making the video is to talk about the fact that I've, for some reason, become motivated again to work on volume 3 of Phoebe's Prehistory, which I'm really quite pleased about, but you know, me being me, I have conflicting feelings, so we're going to go into that a little bit. Feel free to grab water, a hot drink, maybe both, a little snacky, and you can sit with me while I draw this definitely not elephant. In case you're wondering, I'm doing a redraw of an old drawing that I don't think I actually posted on Instagram at all, or even took photos of, because I've scrolled back through my photo album and I can't seem to find it anywhere. I do sort of roughly have a time of where I drew it, as I'd scanned it in and sort of finalised it, cut it out from the paper behind it. So it's around June 2021. I believe. Thinking about it, that is a while ago now, and it's, you know, a lot has happened since, so I thought I'd give it a redraw and see if it came out any differently. Spoiler alert, it really did. Wasn't really too much of a problem remembering the colour palette, as I had it right next to me, and as many greens as I've accumulated over the past couple of years, it felt quite easy to get back into the rhythm of it. Before this, I drew a Dino Theorem, which is now a new addition to the, I guess, the collection of animals that will be included in this volume. The main thing, I wanted to talk about the drastic art style changes and how it's affecting the process of making this volume. I actually started making this volume in, I would say, ever since I drew the baby mammoth picture in the cave with all the little cave drawings. I would say that's when I knew I wanted to make a volume about prehistoric mammals. That idea didn't really come to fruition until sort of partway through me making volume 2, which was all about sauropods. I began gathering a list of creatures I definitely knew I wanted to draw, and began to draw them, naturally. Stegotetrabelodon, this one in particular, is one I definitely wanted to include because he just looks wacky. I've also drawn Dino Theorem, which I will quickly pop up on the screen, but I don't know if I'll be posting a picture of it, because, you know, you got to keep some things to your chest. So maybe I'll only show it on here, and whoever watches the video will have seen it, and whoever's on my Instagram and is not watching the video won't. So, sorry. Yeah, so that's Dino Theorem. And while I was drawing it, I rapidly realised how quickly my art style had developed. Not really consciously, it's just changed a lot. And I haven't done that many full scale, like sit down and do a full scale, not full scale, but like full body drawing of any creature in ages. I don't even remember what the last thing I drew sort of to completion was. I've mostly been doing skulls and bits and bobs here and there. It was quite, I want to say shocking, but that's very dramatic. It was quite surprising to see how much it had changed. And I brought a couple of originals of these mammals along to the flat but not all of them. So I have a kind of a reference point in front of me of how much it has changed. I think the Platybelodon is probably the closest to where the art style is sort of heading. And I would also say, I think it was a steppe mammoth. I don't think it was a Colombian mammoth because I haven't drawn that yet, and I'd like to. Yeah, I think it was a steppe mammoth. It's a light blue kind of looking one. That is very close to the style that the rest of these are sort of appearing in. Yeah, it's really weird to watch because I know it's different, but I don't really remember how I got from A to B, if that makes sense. I'm sure this happens to a lot of artists when sort of working on a long-term project. I have the physical artworks in front of me. Most, if not all, of the ones that I made in 2020 or, you know, the previous 2 years. And they've all been scanned in and sort of finalised, as it were. And I see how starkly different they look compared to the pieces I've been producing in the last couple of weeks. And naturally, I'm conflicted as to how I'm meant to carry on with the project being the book. So my intention when I finally became motivated was to pick up from where I left off and just draw the rest of the animals that I intended to include in volume 3. But I found myself wondering whether I should redraw them all or just redraw a few. As far as deadlines are concerned, I mean, I made a post about it like a couple years ago. It's probably shortly after the Kickstarter ended, and then I sort of teased volume 3 and I put 2021 to 2022 release date on it, which was quite funny to me now, because yeah, a lot has happened and I did not have time to dive in to that at all. So the timeline of this project is a lot longer, but then it's more stretched out, and there's been periods of time where I've not touched it at all, not even thought about it. Only really thought about it out of the guilt that I'm putting on myself for not doing anything with it, because who knows, there might be a couple people waiting for it. So if you have been waiting for it, I'm really sorry. But I'm sure you'll understand that. I mean, if you've been following along, you know, moved out, got a full-time job, been, you know, living independently of my family, early 20s, it's a little bit scary. You know, prices are all going up and we're not getting paid anymore. Apart from Jam, she just got promoted, so that's really cool. Well done, Jam. So yeah, let's circle back. The time, I've not set a deadline, apart from the time pressures I put on myself. So I feel it's, you know, it's not a project with a deadline, but now that I'm in the flow of making things for it, I really do want to crack on with it. For the sauropod project, I think I'm just sort of looking at the poster, looking at my own poster to figure out what I actually did a few years ago. I think there were about 20 dinosaurs, but because it's really quite hard to find out information about mammals, as they're obviously not as popular, so there's not as much research. There is a lot of research, but not as much that I can get my teeth into. I'm going to be approaching this volume in a bit of a different way, so not necessarily all of the full body pictures that I'm drawing will have dedicated pages to them. Some will sort of feature on the same pages to show the evolutionary process of that particular species. I also really want to do some modern day animal drawings. There's a little bit more anxiety attached to that because with modern day animals, they are alive and people do know what they look like, and if you draw it a bit weird, people are gonna know. But I mean, I shouldn't be really worried about that. Funny little story. I was looking for Shivatherum, which is a ancient giraffid, extinct giraffid, I should say. And I was looking for a really good skull reference because it has a really wacky skull. Again, I'm using the word wacky, I'm not really sure why. Its skull and its little horny nubbins are really weird. They're very antler-like. And I just couldn't find a good picture reference of it. And then I found one and I was like, oh, this is really simple, but it's really good. So I'll just use it. And after I'd posted it, I sort of put a guess what this is. And after I'd posted it, I looked back at it I looked at the source material, like the website I got it from, and I clicked on it and I was like, oh, this is a giraffe skull. This isn't Shiva theorem skull at all. And obviously everything made sense after that. And then I had to think about, oh, I've now got to draw another skull, because I can't include that and say it's a Shiva theorem when it's actually not. But then it also made me think, okay, well, I can do modern day sort of descendants compared to their ancient counterparts. So it all worked out, really, in my head, but it did make me chuckle. So that's a little bit of an in-joke, I guess, for you. I thought a giraffe skull was that of an extinct animal. And I'm pretty sure I've seen a giraffe skull before, but I saw it and thought, yep, that looks right. I'll just draw that. That's got to be it. And then when I tried to find a reference for the actual animal, it was really difficult. And I kind of went off the outline that someone had done. I'll pop their name up. Yeah, that someone had done of a sort of full body skeletal. It had no definition to it because it was obviously an outline. And I kind of just winged it by looking at the giraffe skull. I think in the video I'm gesturing wildly. I'm waving my hands about, and I think I'm just talking about pencils. It's safe to assume I'm just talking about pencils and how they're reacting to the page. With this in particular, when I start layering things up, it can get a bit out of hand and the paper starts to really not like it. So if you're wondering what I'm talking about there, that's probably it. Yeah, that seems right. Anyway, I think we're sort of nearing the end of me sketching that, or just trying to fill it in, really. I think the detailed parts are the easier parts, and then the filling in the wider space is the harder part, because it stands out way more, I think. Maybe that's just personal. I was sat here sort of staring at my new Stego Tetrabelodon, and then the one I drew back in about 2021, which I still really love, might I add. But I can't help but think I'm going to have to rethink the whole thing, like the whole book. I shouldn't have to, really. What I really need to be thinking about is including animals from different eras. Not intentionally, but a lot of them are from the Miocene. I've listed all of the ones I've got currently, and a lot of them span 2 periods of time, geological periods, and a lot of them are from late Miocene or middle Miocene to something Pleistocene, blah blah blah, Holocene. I've got currently none from the Paleocene, which is the earliest of the Cenozoic era. I've got one from the Eocene, but then I was also thinking of doing Basilosaurus. I've got one from the Oligocene, 11 from the Miocene, 2 from the Pliocene, 10 from the Pleistocene, and 3 from the Holocene. Really weird thing to think about, because I am going to include Thylacine, even though I've not fully completed the full body picture that I'm happy with yet. I did draw it for a Peachtober prompt, but then I cut the tail off, and looking back, that's really annoyed me because that's the best I've drawn it, and I've struggled with it so much. But yeah, figuring out the temporal range. Let's get technical. The temporal range of the Thylacine. It sort of appeared around the Pleistocene period, and it went extinct in the late Holocene. We're in the Holocene right now. Some people would argue that we're in the Anthropocene, but I think technically we're still in the Holocene period. It was really weird writing down an actual sort of tangible date for it, so I put 1936. It sort of went extinct around 1936. And as I've said in a previous video where I've drawn the skull, you can see footage from quote-unquote last Thylacine. He could be. I think his name's Benjamin, so it could be the last Thylacine. I'm hoping it's not. But yeah, just to put an actual date where it's not just so and so millions of years ago is a really poignant thing to write down. And then I've obviously got the other ones I've recently added, so Dinotherum and Shiva theorem, which are also from the Miocene, so really need to expand the eras that I'm I'm getting these mammals from. But yeah, I'm starting at square one and I'm learning quite a lot. Oh, I almost thought I was done with the drawing segment of this video, but apparently not. I might come back in a little bit. I'll let you watch me draw for a bit, and yeah. If I don't come back, then you could just watch to the end of the video. That would be really nice. Obviously like and subscribe, because that's what you're meant to do on here. I mean, if you've never done that on YouTube before, what are you doing? If you ring incognito, I don't know why. This isn't filth, and nothing you should be ashamed of watching. It's only paleo. Calm down. If I don't come back to you in the end of this video, I will see you next time. So thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.